Even where you go, go with you, even where you go. Whoa, 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 whoa. Big I'm with you. Oh, yes. All the harmony. So I'm all zoomed in, and I just got back from the gymnasium. First thing I did this morning with my lady, which is why my hair looks kind of gross, like a angry German hippie in a rave parade. You know what I'm talking about, right? What was it, like Rave Viking? YouTube it, it's great. Techno Viking. Anyway, this morning's devotion I'm a little nervous and excited about, because today, in my focus on joying in the everlasting bounty of joy that is God, led me into a rumination chapter on marriage. And often my proto-feminist upbringing and reasoning has led me to be frustrated by certain things biblically. And so I've often seen the point of the non-covenant world in being like, that sounds pretty suspicious, and that sounds not too far from Islam, where people are allowed to burn their wives and stuff. So let me just get it right into it, and we'll wrestle with it there, because actually, over time, I've come to see, as with all things, sometimes I'll be like, that doesn't make any sense. You obviously, misstated there. You've obviously probably changed your mind about that. And then, typically I'll get proven wrong. And I'll be like, ha, you win again, Lord. Congratulations. I don't know if you ever get tired of hearing that. I bet not. I wouldn't. Ephesians 5:25 through 30. Ooh, actually, let's touch on this. 5:28. He who loves his wife loves himself. Phew! Proverbs 31:10. An excellent wife who can find? She is far more precious than jewels. Come on. Come on. Ephesians 5:25 through 28. Husbands, love your wives, as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her, that he might sanctify her, having cleansed her by the washing of water with the word, so that he might present the church to himself in splendor, without spot or wrinkle or any such thing, that she might be holy and without blemish. In the same way, husbands should love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. For no one ever hated his own flesh, but nourishes it and cherishes it, just as Christ does the church, because we are members of his body. Now, I think that's kind of beautiful, honestly. And throughout the Bible, marriage is presented as a, let's just steal this word from this chapter I read, a matrix. Here it says a matrix for Christian hedonism. But I'm going to say it's almost a matrix for our relationship, our covenant relationship with God, the quote unquote, as basically between God and the church. So in a way, wives in the marriage covenant sort of end up playing an echo of the role of the church in relation to God. My phone. And then, stay with me now. And then men in that metaphor are to sort of play out the role of God or Christ. Now, lest you get into that image of a man who tells his wife what to do and lords it over her, we can look at the example of Christ, who did not live that way. He spoke truth powerfully, did not err from truth, but spoke all truth in love and in mercy, and also led frequently by example, and said to be a servant. And this is called, men are called for some pretty intense protection and leadership role here. Now, this also, let's go ahead and let that lead us to the even more confusing one. Oh, Christ literally said, let the leader become as one who serves. I like that. Ooh, did I go ahead and skip over the thing that was problematic? I bet I did. Check this out. This is the part that often made me like, squirrely. But I'm going to go ahead and get into it because, listen, Christ doesn't let me wrong and anything else. Wives, submit to your own husbands as to the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, his body, and is himself its Savior. Now as the church submits to Christ, so also wives should submit in everything to their husbands. What? But let's take a look at that. Again, the example of Christ in leading the church has been one of love, of forgiveness, of mercy. It is not one of harsh discipline. The covenant of marriage is intended in this setting and in this description, and I would even say in the ideal, to be a covenant under God. That even this is a miniature this is a macro, micro sort of situation, where this is a miniature covenant echo of the larger covenant that this smaller covenant is supposed to be under. So that both husbands and wives are called to submit themselves to God, the endless fount of joy and mercy. But men here are asked, I focus on the male part first because I'm male, men are asked to take a leadership role, and women are asked to support and to follow to some degree. Now, nowhere in here is, in the Bible, is there any language that women are to forego any of their gifts and talents, and there will be women who will be way more talented than their husbands in many areas. But the husband is called to leadership. And now what sort of leadership, one might wonder? He can just tell the lady what to do all the time? No. What he's called to is leadership in holiness. And it's funny because I used to find this offensive, again, in a feminist Simone de Beauvoir sort of way. But I've actually seen it played out, and I'd be so interested. I hope people watch this, because I find it relatively controversial. Let's have a whole discussion about this. But I've actually found that there has been great deliverance, and there's actually quite a bit of demand for, I've found amongst women that I know, for men to actually take this role. Not to be bossy, mind you, but I found great echoes of verbal sympathy with this position, if not in a patriarchal sense, but in a, I don't know, let me know, women. Do you like men to go ahead and take a leadership role, whether it be in the pursuit of you, the love of you, or the guiding of if you have a covenant home, or even if you have a home together, that ultimately, do you want him to go ahead and take a leadership role? And men, do you certainly want support? I know Christopher McQuarrie said it this way in Way of the Gun. That's right, I'm quoting Way of the Gun on a covenant devotional. But what did he say? Men need approval like women need security. Now, that might be a oversimplification because I'm quoting Christopher McQuarrie and not Jesus Christ. But there's something in that, the secular echoes of kind of what we're talking about in mercy and grace here. Mercy and grace being huge amongst two. This is a love covenant. This is a covenant that's actually meant to teach both of us about our place in the world. And I've often had trouble with leadership in general, so that probably leads into my even further issues of it. But in a way, I've actually found greater succor and greater peace in my house the more I just go ahead and make certain decisions, or try to, not always try to fix things, but just in mercy and grace and compassion, huge one, compassion. Delight myself in the pleasures of my partner. Delight myself in the joy of my wife. Just like Christ, God delights himself in our pleasures. And not in just our whimsical pleasures, but in the deepest. Again, like this whole Christian hedonism thing suggests that, not that we aren't pleasure seekers, but we're lazy pleasure seekers. So we seek paltry pleasures, and God's like, no, seek pleasure, yes, that's what you're designed for, but seek eternal pleasure. Seek the monumental pleasures you're meant to seek. And likewise, in marriage, seek the deepest pleasures, not the immediate ones of, okay, I wanted him to do this thing, and he did this thing. I wanted her to do this thing, and it did this thing. But seek those bossy sauce moments that would edify and buoy and support your partner in weakness, both of you, because both of you have weakness. So that's my ramble about that. Let's talk about it. God bless. Selah.